zero waste living expensive? Yes and no. I say no because you don't have to buy anything to be zero waste, and I've kind of made that the mission of my channel over the last, I don't know, 6 years or so. Zero waste living includes habit changes such as conserving water and conserving energy. Zero waste is also about recycling properly and starting a compost bin. You can even just use what you already have, such as an old water bottle versus buying a trendy one. But yes, eco-living can be expensive when it comes to buying necessities like eco-friendly toilet paper and sustainable toothpaste and zero waste hair care. But why? Why do those products cost more money than what you can buy at Target or on Amazon? Let's talk about that today. Hello everyone, it's Emma and welcome back to my channel where we talk about all sorts of things zero waste, focusing on free, easy, and fun ways to live low waste. And if I talk a little bit too fast for you, there's a gear icon somewhere over here depending on where you're watching this video, where you can change the speed of the video to something that better suits you. Inspiration for this video comes from several comments like these, in which people are accusing small businesses of scamming us because prices are so high, which I don't blame these people for leaving comments like this when we're so used to shopping at Walmart, Amazon, and Target, and name literally any other store that we're used to, and they're charging such low rates. It does kind of feel like a scam when a small bookstore or a zero waste store or a bulk store charging, 2, 3, 4 times the price for a similar product. So it comes down to a few things. Let's get into it, starting with ethical labor. First and foremost, the price that these ethical, small, and sustainable brands are charging should be the norm. They are not the ones deviating from the regular price. It is not these brands jacking up the price to scam you. Rather, fast fashion brands and fast item brands like Amazon, Temu, and Shein, they are the ones pulling the tricks. They are the ones cutting corners and making us feel like those products are normal, that those prices are normal. But those prices come at a cost to workers and the environment. I highly recommend the full documentary, The True Cost, to learn more about this topic. Now, this film does dive into the true cost of fast fashion, but truly you can apply this to other things like fast tech, fast furniture, fast anything. What we save with our dollars comes at a cost in the long run, in terms of pollution and climate change and the ethics of the people who make our stuff for us. And if you want to learn more about fast fashion, I just made an updated video on it. My original was from 2020. You can check out my more recent video about fast fashion here to learn more about it in full. Ethical brands cost more because they are paying their workers a fair and living wage. Not only, one person, but every single person in that supply chain has to earn a living wage. So that's why it becomes more expensive to buy an ethical product because, hey, guess what? Nobody's being exploited along the way. From farmers to textile workers to packers and drivers and everyone in between. This also means fair and ethical working conditions such as breaks, healthcare, personal protective equipment, unionizing, and more. The bar is really, really low when these things like providing people healthcare and vacation and an ethical wage are considered unusual. So is this foolproof? Absolutely not. Just because a price tag is high and the company says they're ethical doesn't mean they actually are. Companies can lie. And so unfortunately, it is very hard to find which ones are truly sustainable, which ones are truly ethical. So my best advice here is to watch this video all about how to spot greenwashing. But again, even that's not foolproof. Do your best here. So greenwashing is essentially a company seeming to be more ethical and sustainable and green than they normally are. And they use this as an excuse to charge a higher price because they know that people like you and me who care about the planet and care about our fellow humans will pay more money for ethical and sustainable goods. And so they lie. They literally blatantly lie to us to get our money because they know that we'll buy it because we're sustainably and ethically minded. They use it as kind of a means to jump on a trend, jump on the bandwagon, and make a quick buck. So do a little bit of research before buying from a brand just to be sure if they're ethical and sustainable. But again, that greenwashing video above and below will get the job done for now. Moving on to number 2, eco-friendly products and materials also cost more to create. It also costs more for brands to not pollute. Again, it is an extremely low bar when this is becoming unusual for companies to not pollute. And then they have to take the consequence of costing more money to not pollute. It costs more money though to use green energy, to recycle, to refill their products, to pay for carbon offsetting, to opt for recyclable or recycled materials, to manage their waste in an eco way, to choose eco-friendly packaging, just to name a few. It costs far less money for them to send all of their waste to the landfill. It costs far less money to pick the cheapest material, which is very often made from plastic, which is made from oil. Picking the cheapest packaging is obviously cheapest and is going to be plastic as well. And then of course, using oil to run your machinery is also going to be cheaper because of things like oil subsidies. And if you want a full video on oil subsidies, I would happily dive into that myself. I want to learn more about it. I would love to make a video on that topic. So if there's interest, let me know because ultimately that is why oil is so much cheaper than green energy. Not only this, but the government places subsidies on wasteful things such as oil and gas, meat and dairy, and things like that. That means the government literally pays money to keep these prices low for these wasteful industries. So that is ultimately, again, the main reason why things like vegan products, sustainable products, and ethical products cost more money because they are not being subsidized incentivized to be eco-friendly. And I just find it so disheartening, so sad that the company has to take on that cost, and then therefore we have to take on the cost of not polluting the planet. Why does it cost more to not pollute the planet? Ugh, it's so frustrating, but ultimately that's what it comes down to here. Number 3, most often these eco businesses are small businesses. Therefore, they do small batch orders, which cost more money. So it costs less for a brand when they buy stuff in bulk. When a brand buys 1,000 of a product, it's going to cost less per item than buying one of it, for example. So say a brand wanted 1 glass jar, it would maybe cost them, I don't know, $5. But if you buy 100 glass jars, now all those jars are just $1. For example, it's less per unit. But this is especially important when it comes to perishable products. For example, small beauty brands who have to buy, say, 100 pounds of shea butter to get that deal. They might not need 100 pounds of shea butter because they're a small business. They're not going to use that all before it expires. So if they have to buy it by the individual pound, it's going to cost them more, again, per pound to buy at a smaller unit. And therefore they do this to prevent waste. They do this to be more eco-friendly, but it makes them cost a little bit more. So eco businesses are on the rise, which is good news, meaning that many more of them might be able to buy stuff in bulk and therefore cut their costs a little bit in this area. It's hard to say how much this truly influences the broader eco-friendly shopping market, the sustainable and ethical brand market, but this is something that I found in my research that I wanted to include, even if it isn't like the biggest influencer of price. Number 4 is certifications. It costs so much money to get all of these different certifications. Many eco brands go out of their way to get third-party certifications because this is one of the easiest ways to show that they are sustainable, by having a third-party organization look at the brand and say, yeah, we agree, you're sustainable. These include Fair Trade, BPI, TUV, B Corp, 1% for the Planet, and more. These certifications take time and money to get, sometimes thousands of dollars. So therefore, this may lead to increased price as well, especially for brands that have to like license per year to use these logos. If you didn't know that either, if you want to use the 1% for the Planet logo, if you want to use the B Corp logo, you have to pay them a yearly fee to be like a member of this, and then also go through regular audits, which also cost money. So this is a recurring price for these businesses. Therefore, it will reflect back on their products because they need to keep paying for this label. Now, does a certification automatically make a company eco? No. Does lack of a certification automatically make a company not eco? No. So is a certification useless? Also no. A third-party certification is a great place to check for greenwashing, again, because it is an outside organization looking in and saying, yeah, you're eco-friendly, instead of just a company looking at themselves in the mirror and saying, yep, we're eco-friendly. It's a little bit more trustworthy to know that a different organization looked at this brand and said, yeah, you're sustainable, or yeah, you're ethical. So it's not just really inaccessible for small businesses, especially really, really small businesses like one-person teams, to get these certifications, but it can also lead to increased price, which is a big reason why plenty of these small brands don't get that certification, because they can't afford it and they don't want to put that cost on us. Number 5, refill stores. I think probably the number one thing people associate with zero waste is refill stores, and I think the number one thing that people associate with refill stores is how expensive they are. Sure, they can be, and the reason might actually shock you. Yes, of course, they too have to pay people an ethical wage. They have to pay for certifications and ensure eco-friendly business practices, which may contribute to an increased price, but not always. The main culprit here is actually you are probably just buying more than you're used to, and therefore it's going to cost more because you're buying more product than you were before. For example, when I buy a bag of chocolate chips, it's about 1 cup of chocolate chips, but when I refill my quart jar at the bulk store, that's about 4 cups of chocolate chips. No wonder it costs more. I'm buying 4 times the volume that I'm used to. But after doing the math, after calculating how much it costs for that bag of chocolate chips, and if I were to buy 4 of those bags of chocolate chips versus fill my jar at the refill store, it's still cheaper to buy 4 cups of chocolate chips in bulk than buying 4 bags of chocolate chips. So again, it might be more expensive up front, it might be more expensive right there on your receipt, but it's actually less per ounce and you will save money over time, especially when you buy things like herbs. Herbs cost me like less than 50 cents to refill, but if I were to not refill them and I were to buy a new bottle of herbs every single time that I ran out, that's like $5 per bottle. It's over 5 times the savings for herbs. And I have more tips for shopping at a refill store that you can check out right here. So those are all of the reasons why shopping sustainable and shopping ethical might cost a little bit more, but what if I told you that these zero waste swaps will also save you money? Many traditional zero waste swaps will save you money over the long run, since most of them are reusable and not disposable things that you have to buy over and over again. Of course, a lot of what we buy is not designed to last: toilet paper, toothpaste, cleaners, etc. If you can't afford those products, don't sweat it. Instead, I encourage you to invest in reusable products that you will only have to buy once and hopefully never again. Things like a reusable water bottle, a reusable coffee cup, reusable period products, and dryer balls. A French press for coffee and tea, and more will save you literal hundreds hundreds of dollars every single year. In fact, up to thousands of dollars. And yes, I did the math in, I think, 4 or 5 different videos. And now I'm not saying you have to, but what you could do here is if you buy a reusable water bottle and now you're saving several tens to potentially hundreds of dollars every single year on disposable water bottles, now that money that you have saved, you can buy these sustainable things like sustainable deodorant, sustainable toilet paper, etc. And you know, if zero waste swaps are still out of your price range, that's totally fine as well. I have a full series with over 400 ways to live zero waste totally for free without having to spend a single penny that you can check out right here. But there are even more ways that shopping zero waste and just living a zero waste life can save you money, such as conserving water, conserving energy, and also just being a mindful consumer, starting with shopping less. Do you really need that item, whether it's eco or not? Can you go without it or buy less of it? Is that just an impulse purchase that you might never actually use? I have a full video that you can check out down below all about breaking up with consumption. You could also try shopping secondhand. You can find some amazing things at the thrift stores for a fraction of what it costs to shop new, and it's one of the most eco-friendly things that we can do for the planet as individuals. You could also try borrowing and renting instead of buying, starting with your library. You knew it was coming. You knew I had to talk about libraries in just about every single video that I can. The library is economical and reduces our overall societal waste by promoting borrowing instead of every single person buying the same thing. You don't need to buy a new sewing machine to repair your clothing. Just borrow one from your library's library of things. You don't need to buy that book to learn about climate change. Just borrow it. There are so many reasons why the library is so good for the planet, so please go get a library card and start borrowing. I also encourage people to read reviews before purchase, especially when it comes to zero waste swaps, because not every swap is going to be for every person. So don't feel the need that you have to buy every single zero waste swap that you see influencers talking about. I highly recommend that you take the time to do your research on these brands and on these products and read reviews. So that way you can figure out, is this brand of period products best for me, or is this brand? Is this brand of reusable water bottle going to last the longest, or is this brand? Which shampoo bar was going to work best for my hair? It still may be expensive, don't get me wrong, but it's going to be less expensive than just buying a whole bunch of different brands and products and testing them out to only find one that you like, and then the rest of them you have to throw away. And also, make your items last, mend them, take care of them, and treat them with care. Be gentle with your reusable water bottle and your eco period products. Make them last as long as possible by following care instructions and treating them well. If you get a hole in your eco sweatshirt, give it a mend to help it last. This can help stretch how long you go between purchases. It's an eco-friendly act, it keeps us out of the landfill, and you don't have to buy so many new products. So at the end of the day, should you shop ethically and sustainably? Yes, I think we all should do our absolute very best to shop small, to shop sustainably, and to shop ethically. But I'm also not going to sit here and pretend that it's perfectly achievable by every single person. In fact, it's not perfectly achievable by anybody. We just simply have to do our best. If you can splurge on reusable period products, amazing. But if you can't justify eco toilet paper that costs 4 times as much as regular toilet paper, you don't have to do that. You can still be zero waste without buying all of these swaps and products. It is okay to take baby steps on your eco journey. It is okay to not do every single thing that every other eco person is doing. Do what you can because it's your eco journey. It's going to look different from everyone else's. My best advice here is to make changes in your life elsewhere. For example, if you just simply cannot afford eco toothpaste, don't sweat it. Make an effort to conserve more energy. Make an effort to conserve more water. Maybe you could try hang drying your laundry. Maybe you could try biking and walking more instead of driving. All of these habit changes are typically free and also save you money, so give those a try. And also remember the phrase I'm sure you've heard before, there's no ethical consumption under capitalism. Now, no, this is not an excuse to overconsume. This is not an excuse to be as wasteful as possible. Rather, it's a reminder not to put the weight of the world on your shoulders. It's okay if you can't do it all, but I think we can all try our very best to avoid wasteful and unethical brands as far as we possibly can. Speaking of wasteful and unethical brands that I personally hate, you can check out this video next if I have cards. If not, it's down below. These are brands that I loathe and refuse to give my money to because they are awful for the planet. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that you learned something today, and I really, really hope that you like this video and you share it with someone else, because truly it is so common. I get this comment across platforms from so many different types of people. Small brands are just scamming us. That sustainable and ethical brands are just scamming us because they cost more than shopping on Amazon. When no, brands like Amazon, Temu, Shein have normalized being so unethical and keeping prices so low that these brands who are charging everybody a fair wage seem like a scam, but they're not. They are not scamming us. In fact, companies like Amazon are the ones scamming every single person along the supply chain. So please keep that in mind the next time you shop from a wasteful brand and also an ethical one. Once again, thank you for watching. I truly appreciate your time. I will see you in the next video, but until then, remember that your small actions make a big difference in the long run. Bye, guys. Yeah. All right, let's do it. Let's get done. Again, it's an extremely sad. It's a hummingbird! We get a lot of little bird visitors to this tree, but rarely hummingbirds because this tree doesn't have hummingbird-friendly flowers. Don't really know what that was, but I do know I'm hungry, so I should get a move on.